I recommend that I draw two columns, and I'm thinking of the two parts we're dealing with, and I write about what I'm hearing about from in each column. So we've got the first part, which is the part, and I write the names down. Part that wants to, which is the part that wants to go and do your own career.
Yeah.
Yeah, wants to. What would you call it? Who wants?
Do my own thing.
Do my own thing. Do my own thing. And that seems to be the main towards, and we've got another one that seems to be more in the slightly against that, the one that wants to do things for my partner.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to do things for my partner. What would you call it? The one that wants to... Let's move these out of the way. How do you describe it?
Do relationship stuff. I just kind of figure it's part and parcel of the relationship.
So spend... How did you describe it before?
Help her in her career.
Help my partner,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to see that as the slightly the problem one, in the sense that ultimately if you're not being you, you've got a problem, haven't you? Because you can only really be you.
Mm.
Now there are other things we need to look after, but the main one is about being us. So I'm going to see that as the towards, and the other one's the one that's slight. I'm going to call the other one the problem one, in a sense. Yeah.
Mm.
It's not a problem, but in the sense it's getting in the way of. It's the smaller part that's getting in the way of us totally being who we're meant to be. And there seems to be a conflict of both pulling in different directions. So I'm going to start with that one and I'm going to chunk up on that and ask for what purpose, for what purpose, for what purpose. So we'll do this process called parts integration. Now to this I need to set this up for you by lifting your hand and each one at a time and setting your hands in a certain way, rather like this. Is that okay if I do that?
Yeah.
Once we set, fine. So there's a way that you do this, and I don't want to help in any way at all, but I just want to set this up for you. So you say, okay, if I just lift up, and what I do is I actually show what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift up your hand like that, and then we're just going to put it in position for you. Is that okay? And so you're actually showing the client what you're going to do. Yeah? And I think it's a good idea. And then you ask, is it okay if I do that? Because if you're going to touch your client, I think you need to ask for permission. Yeah, he wants. Yeah, okay. So is it okay if I do that?
Yeah.
Okay, if we just do the down. I also don't help in it. Would you notice that the client's hand came out towards me?
Yeah.
Now, doing things that the client wants is resistance like any other. And there's two forms of resistance. One is, and the other one is, I'm going to ask you in a moment. Yeah? You see? Now, that tells you a lot. Now, what has the client already told us? The client said doing things for my partner. And we've also said we've cast that slightly as a problem part. So we actually mirror our underlying thinking in all of our behaviours. So I'm just pointing at you that every little thing that someone does tells you about them. So when I work with a client and I took a glass of water from the bottle on the table, and I put the bottle on the table and left the top on, and then went to carry on, his hand went out and put the top on the bottle. And I thought, no, I noted it down. I thought, interesting. It's telling me something, isn't it? I don't know what it's telling me, but it's giving me a clue as to something about where this client's coming from. Something about their desire to please, or maybe they don't want to do things wrong, or things have to be neat, or I don't know, do I? But it's telling me something. You want to know. And everything your client does is information. Like I said to you, the client will tell you all about the problem in the first couple of minutes. But you don't say, ha, you're doing such and such. Just clock it, note it, think, okay, right, so you're aware of what you're doing. Okay, so don't help them at all. But I always say to people, because they're not to it, and it is something the client is going to have to look back at. I make a joke of it, okay? So I would like you to look at that, okay? But we're just going to take that, okay? So don't help. Now, all I'm going to do at this point is check that the arm is loose. There are two steps to this I need to point out to you. There's checking that the arm is moving freely, and if you would pay attention to your hand for me. And then there's setting it up. They are two separate steps. Okay, so I'm just checking the arm is loose and that it's moving freely. Okay, sometimes someone's arm might be very stiff and rigid. Sometimes someone might be moving ahead of me. I'm checking for which is it. And I'm trying to just go past that. And I might go beyond where they're prepared to go so that they stop that. Yeah, and then I'm checking it's loose. Okay, and then good. And then I'm just looking to I'm just feeling my way. I'm looking, actually there's a point where we bring the arm back where it will hook in. And I might give one touch to the back of the hand. And actually what I'm doing right now is I'm just, little by little as I'm doing this, I'm just loosening my grip, okay? Because the arm will go cataleptic at that point. That's the second stage. The first is checking that it's free. The next is nothing going on at all, no movement, waiting and just finding the right. As you move back till the arm hooks in and then you've got catalepsy. It's not all one, it's breaking the client's resistance. And the next step is gently hooking into catalepsy. 2 steps. Is that clear? Okay, I'm just going to turn that on like that. Okay, good. I'm just going to do the same with the other hand here. So we just pay attention to this hand here. Oops. If I do the same, would that be okay? Okay, and it's usually, but once you've done one, then it's easy often the second. So we don't need to repeat the whole thing. And sometimes just one touch. What I'm doing is feeling as to where the hand is going. Okay, good. Excellent, good. Now, there was one part that we're going to say, part of you that would like, that wants to do things for your partner, that's like to help their partner. If they were to come out and stand on one of these hands, which hand would that, this one? Okay, good. And so, all of that part's willing to come out now.
Yeah.
So let's see where we are for those guys. I'm going to have the part that represents the unwanted state of behaviour come out in the first hand. That's what I'm doing now, number 2. I've just done that. So, and now like, I'm going to jump to, actually I'm going to get a visualisation. I'm jumping to 4. So I say, and is that part willing to come out and stand on this hand? And does it look like someone you know?
Yeah.
Excellent, good. Now I'd like the flip side of the coin, the opposite number. The complete opposite of that. None of that part's going to come out and stand on this hand. And does it look like someone you know?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Excellent. Now I just want to bring your attention back to this part. And this is the this is the part you'd like to help your partner. I'd like to ask, as you contemplate this partner, what's its highest intent? What's the highest intent? What's this part got to say for itself? What's its highest intent? I'll start with the highest intent first, because we'll start up as high as we can, okay?
Because I love my partner. What?
Yes, that's right. And what's its highest intent? I mean, what does it do for you, this part? As you contemplate doing things for your, helping your partner.
Because I want to have a relationship.
Okay.
Happy.
Happy. For what purpose a relationship does happen for you? As you think about this, as you think about doing things for your partner, having a relationship that's happy, for what purpose for you?
Makes me feel whole.
Makes you feel whole. And notice that might sound like a big chunk, would go up anyway. For what purpose for you?
I was going to say so I don't feel fragmented, but that's just the opposite.
Whatever it goes to you.
Yeah.
But for what purpose feeling whole and not fragmented? Sometimes you'll get a negative, and you can say for what purpose not that. So for what purpose whole and not fragmented for you? When you think about being whole and not fragmented, for what purpose for you? What do you know about it?
That I feel everything. I feel, yeah, I can't think of anything higher than that. I feel whole.
Be aware too. Well, for what purpose feeling whole? It's obviously very important to you, but what would you get out of that? As you think about feeling whole, for what purpose?
Joy.
Joy. Now, notice how you can get something which sounds smaller than the thing you had before. That's normal, okay? You keep pushing for what purpose, joy for you. particularly when someone's doing an NLP practitioner, we're all into, you know, save the whales and whole universe, and that's why we're here, you know, but then there's often something else. For purpose joy for you. As you think about joy, now I'm associating the client, when you think about joy for you, for purpose joy for you.
Love.
So for what purpose? Love for you. Love's important, but for what purpose for you? What do you think about?
Happy.
For what purpose happiness for you? What do you think about that? How do you think about feeling happy? That's reassociating.
I feel integrated.
Now here we heard that before. So I'm going to say those two together. Anything about it? Happiness, love, and integrated together. For what purpose for you?
I feel motivated more.
Motivated in life. For what purpose motivated for you?
So I can achieve things.
I can achieve things. For what purpose achieving things?
In my existence, I don't know for nothing.
It sounds like a big tune. For what purpose you achieve your existence not being for nothing for you? Now, it sounds like it shouldn't from existence itself, but it's just worth a thought.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, for what purpose my achievement, that my existence not being for nothing?
I've done everything I want to do in life.
Doing everything you want to do. And I guess it's important to do everything you want to do. For what purpose? Doing everything you want to do. These can be deep questions, okay, for any one of us. These are deep searching questions. They actually get us to think way beyond where we've normally thought.
Happiness.
So for what purpose? Doing everything you want to do in life and having happiness. For you.
Joy.
And for what purpose? Joy and happiness. Doing everything you want to. Yeah. For you. What do you think about that?
Love.
I notice we are getting around in a circle.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, you're right to say. For what purpose? For what purpose? Love, joy, happiness. For you. When you think about it. You may never have thought about it before, but when you think about love, joy, and happiness, for what purpose for you?
But I feel like I'm living.
Yeah. Touching on our deep motivations. What purpose feeling like you're living? Feel. When you think about that, you feel you're living. What purpose for you? As you think about
So
it now,
I feel connected to everything.
feel connected. As you think about feeling connected to everything now, what purpose feeling connected to everything? For you. I know we're searching questions, so it's really contemplating more of the time.
I keep thinking happiness and joy.
That's right, happiness and joy. Keep thinking happiness and joy. And they may well be important. For what purpose? Happiness and joy. Connected to everything. What do you get out of that? As you contemplate happiness and joy. For what purpose? For you.
I'm living.
For what purpose living? Don't have to. Some people decide not to. For what purpose? Happiness and joy in living. Being.
But I'm connected.
That's right. And so for what purpose? Happiness, joy, connected. Feel. And they are deep searching questions, but for what purpose for you? Now that you've noticed those, which you may have noticed before, let's question them and go to the deepest parts of your mind, the highest parts of your mind, and ask there, for what purpose connected? Joy, happiness, being connected. Being.
Yes, I can't get beyond that.
Can't get beyond them. That's right. If you were to contemplate for what purpose happiness for you, you spend this time aiming for it. Now it's worth asking, for what purpose happiness? What do I get out of that?
Don't know.
If you were to, clearly it's important to. You were to contemplate for what purpose happiness, joy, being connected, for what purpose for you. And I know this is a question you have thought about before. It might be very important.
I don't know. I really don't.
So I'd now like you to imagine, if you did know, what you would now come up with. As you now go into the deeper parts of your mind and one more, well, for what purpose happiness, joy, being connected for me? Into the world.
But I have a life worth living. So let's go into this part here, the opposite part if we could. God wants to do his own thing. That's that part. What purpose doing his own thing? As you imagine talking with this part now. This part over here. Pay attention to that part and ask it, for what purpose? Do my own thing. Happiness.
Or we could ask it for what purpose happiness. So I'm just talking about part and see what it has to say for itself. And remember, as you think about happiness, what does it have to say for the purpose happiness for you?
Sense of achievement.
Sense of achievement. If you imagine the sense of achievement for you, and let's ask it for what purpose, sense of achievement as you imagine that now.
Joy.
So let's think, as you imagine that joy. And let's ask for what purpose that joy. I don't know if you notice these hands started being together, isn't it? You're not doing it consciously. As you contemplate this sense of joy, for what purpose joy?
That I'm living a full life.
So let's just ask it, let's just contemplate, as you think, contemplate living a full life. It's just worth asking for what purpose for you, as you think about living a full life. I mean, for what purpose for you living a full life?
Enjoyment.
Enjoyment. Enjoyment for what purpose for you?
joy and fun. Enjoyment and fun, and just think for what purpose enjoyment and fun do you? Just wonder on that.
Living my life to the full.
Living my life to the full. As you like to just wonder on that now and imagine living your life to the full. It sounds like a lovely thing to contemplate. But let's just ask, why not one more time and ask, what purpose of living my life to the full? Just wait, just ask, see where it goes.
Happiness.
Oh, interesting. So let's take happiness and living your life to the full and ask, for what purpose? If you imagine those things to you.
A meaning to life.
And you need to life. Is that anything like the same as a life worth living? Or is it different? And does that make life worth living? Finding meaning to life?
Yeah.
Because that's interesting, because that's what this part was saying. I don't know if these two can notice that they seem to have the same goal in mind. Before they separated off and started going about it two different ways. But as they maybe contemplate, they have the same goal in mind, which is simply a life worth living and meaning to life. I wonder if they could borrow the best parts of each other, almost like you're broken in negotiation between them. That's all right, as they come to an understanding. To make use of the best parts of each other, to accommodate each other in some new way, to really put together a life worth living and meaning to life. That's right. Well, those times will know when it's time. Just around the intuition to take part inside, it needs to take place. I just want to check with you, when you think about, you said to me when we started, you said I wanted to, probably most of my own. When you think about that old conflict now, I just wonder, how do you now respond? How do you know?
Don't see that one.
Are you sure? Are you sure you're trying to hide that? I'm not being funny, I'm really not being serious. But
No, it doesn't.
think a situation where it would have been really tricky, where it would have been on the line. I know that people can necessarily tell very often, but one of those really awkward moments when you really felt.
It's just not something new.
So you think of the future, where a situation, some specified time in the future where something like that would have arisen. And don't do this just to please these guys or me. Seriously. Because I might ask. Honestly, just check out what kind of happens. Think of some specified time in the future where something would have turned up that was enough to previously had it in. Not, I don't know, maybe trying to do both at once or neither, I don't know. How do you respond? What now happens?
It really doesn't feel like conflict, you know.
Well, good way. I think we should give a pat going on A few things I want to... Any questions first? So there's some things I want to point out afterwards, but questions first on the process. Because I'm going to ask you to do it in a minute.
Putting the hands in position
Right.
at the beginning. Is when you said push the hand back,
Yeah.
is it until you feel a resistance or something?
If the hands are out like this, your hands are going to feel heavy. I mean, we're going to a contrast frame now. Contrast frames, hands right out here, are they going to be happy? No, they feel very heavy. So somewhere in here is going to feel more comfortable, isn't it? And you're looking for where that point is on the client. Now, ideally, these are good chairs where you don't have arms, because there's room for the client's arms. It's better the client sitting there straight. I almost run into problems because your elbow might have hit here. So I like to work, I always put the client on a chair where their arms can move freely. And then I'm looking for where does the natural balance point seem to be? And it's usually when it's like sort of hooked, somewhere like about there, it will just hang. Just feeling for that.
You said you touched the top.
Now, because the client might be focused on you or what you're doing, and one touch there suddenly changes the attention. Micro touch. Almost the client's hardly perceptible of it, and just touch it just brings the attention back. Don't really need to do that. This will be enough. But sometimes you might clients get very, very fixated on what you're doing, and just brings the attention back.
It's the same hook point as when we were doing hypnosis, isn't it?
It's the same one, same thing. Yes. You're looking for muscle catalepsy, and you know you've got catalepsy, which means the muscles have gone rigid, because you'll feel that the arms gone sort of... All the time you're doing it this way when you're moving, and you'll feel that you're reducing the pressure, you're letting your finger just drop a little bit and seeing is it staying, you know, and gradually you're reducing the... and you'll find it stays. Obviously out here, not comfy. Way back here, not comfy. There's some point in the middle, and you're looking for where does it seem to be? There'll be catalepsy, and then when you've got catalepsy, you just turn hand down.
You ask them to do that, or you turn?
You turn hand down. Because you don't want consciousness to get involved.
Right.
So you say, I'm just going to turn this round like that. And then do the same to it. Now, actually, I can tell you I did it the way around I wouldn't normally like to. Really, what I want to do is to get the positive part out first. So I should have, in my view, with hindsight, what I would have preferred to have done, what we got away with it, was to say, the part that wants to do your own thing, and then get the flip side of the coin of that. I did it the other way around. Because you want the thing that's most in conflict with the thing the client wants. So get the positive one out first, the thing that you want. And then say, what's the flip side of the coin, the opposite of that, and get that out on the other hand. You want the thing that's most in conflict with the thing the client wants. So first is, what's the highest intent? Get that one out, and then say, what's the flip side of the coin, and then get that one out. Then you'll go on to the X and Y from the A and B. So get the part out and say, okay, you said that part of you wants to do your own thing. What's its highest intent? Okay, good. Now, then you've got this hand set, so I'd like the opposite, the flip side of the coin to come out on the other hand. I think you'll find the script does it that way. I mean, sometimes it's hard to, which is the positive, which is the negative. Well, these are about, it's a bit of a judgment call. But you want to chunk it up on the thing that's most... Then the chunking up you do on the one that's most distant, the one that's the problem part. You don't chunk up on the towards. That, because often you won't need to. You chunk up on the both towards. If you chunk up on the one you've identified as the problem, you'll find you start to get movement. That's at some point. And then you may need to, as I did, start to chunk up on this part as well. Often you only have to chunk up 2 or 3 times on the positive one. But don't generalise that. You will chunk up a lot on the one you've identified as the problem part, and that will get something going, and then you need to start on the other one. Sometimes the client will say highest intent is, and it will sound like something here.
You said you're looking for the thing that sounds the same.
Yes.
But happiness and enjoyment came up in both of them quite early, and you kind of just ignored that. Why?
I'll never buy happiness off someone, because there's always happiness. I'm always very suspicious of, because you have to say, Happy for what purpose? Definitely always jump up at happiness. And you may well find you jump right back down to the beginning again.
So,
Yeah.
so
Until
fuzzy feelings of
I
this.
want to hear life or death before I stop. Because I suspect we might end up chunking back down. A number of times people say happiness or something like that, or fulfillment, and then you just check for what purpose fulfillment, and then we chunk right back down to recognition. Or I was looking for a root cause that's going to be before the age of 3. It's something like frustration at learning. Well, I don't know. I think that could be anywhere. So I will check that I've got the test. We've listed a test. So can you remember a time when you were frustrated at a specific time?
When I was young, do you?
Or yesterday or last week? Some real...
Yep.
Okay. Now, if someone asks me, can you remember a time when you're frustrated at learning? I go, yeah. But have I got back and found the emotions yet? Nope. Have I been told? Nope. Because I'm very literal. So I don't know whether you're literal or not, but I just ask you to check. Can you go back to that time now as if you were there? Back into your body.
Yeah.
And just check, do you have the feelings of being frustrated? Okay, good. And would you know the difference if you went back and checked afterwards and found that they weren't there? Okay. Yeah, you see how we do it. You want that little person, you might be, you need to check those things. It's the same to do it for everyone. Okay, now we want the congruence. So is it all right with your unconscious mind about for you to release this frustration today and have an absolute?
Definitely.
Now notice the client nodded their head, so I didn't need to finish the sentence. Yeah? But I'm looking for this. If I get this and not this, I definitely finish the sentence and I probably repeat it. I'm looking for congruence, right? And we're working with the unconscious. So I'll just point that out to you. Okay, excellent, good. So if I were to ask you, there'll be many times you've known. There's some which you've forgotten, one of them you just remembered. Right back to some first time. And for you, your timeline went, the past was in which direction? I'm going to ask you what comes to mind now. So there'll be many times, yes, right back to a first time which you may not remember. We're not necessarily talking about learning from a book. There may be things you're learning as a child, like learning to walk, which would be they say you can't remember before the age of 3. So I guess you learned to walk before the age of 3, most of us did. And she gets up and falls off the chair and says, oops, another politically incorrect statement. I didn't notice the orange badge. Beware. Okay, so about, now I reassociated this point because we've had a bit of fun. So do you know the emotion, you know about what was, as you imagine that feeling now being frustrated, yeah, you tell me. So if I was going to ask you about the root cause, the original event, which if disconnected would allow you to release all frustration, is that before or during or after you were born, if you were to know? Before, okay. In the womb or before? Like handed down or like a past version of it?
Oh, handed down from the generation.
How many years?
I'd say 1.
Okay, good. And as you imagine that now, this is not given in the script, but I'm just checking the client has a rep of that. But you know what you're imagining. Okay, good. Right. So the client knows where they're going. I'd rather know that now before we get on the timeline, rather than the client saying, I don't know, I just made it up, I haven't thought about it. I want to check the client's got an internal rep. I don't need to know what it is, and I don't ever ask. Just want to know the client knows what they're thinking of. And say, okay, good. So I'm going to ask you now to imagine you float up a body timeline, very back. And so we go, and so the client's really, so just imagine you float up a body timeline. Float way back above all past events. The important thing is to remain above all past events. And over the past. To position number 1, facing the past. And when you get there, notice the events and let me know. Thank you. Now go to position number 2, which is directly above the event, so that you're looking down on the event. And I ask your unconscious mind what it needs to learn from the events, the learning of which will allow you to let go of the emotions easily and effortlessly. Your unconscious mind can preserve the learnings that you need in the future that we have. Now float to position number 3, so that you're above the event and before the event. looking to it. Make sure you're well before any of the chain of events that led to that event. And ask yourself now, where are the emotions? Are they there?
No.
Excellent. Good, so now go down inside the event to position number 4. Looking through your own eyes and check on the emotions.
No.
Excellent. Good. Now go back up to position number 4. Now come back to the now, above your timeline, only as quickly as you can let go of all the frustration of learning on all the events, all the way back to now. Assume the position number 3 with each subsequent event, as they're willing to let go of the frustration all the way back to now. And finally float back down into your body, back into 3. Which is the break state. Okay. I could just say, let your mind go blank. But we've got enough going on. I don't think our mind's going to go blank now again, this bloke talking over it. So when you imagine, can you remember, it says, can you remember any event in the past where you used to be able to feel that dull emotion? Well, we've already got it. Yeah. I'd rather know that before I started, that's what I'm saying, rather than have the client say, now where do I go with that? So I want that out of the way before we start. So as you go back to that older, that event now, the past, where you did feel that old emotion, go back and try and notice if you can feel it. Now, what I will do is, if you want to feel the convince of, say, can you think of another time when you had that frustration? You can't remember? Or you go back and you can't find the emotion? Although?
No, I'm thinking some other times, but I can't find the emotion.
Right. So what else if you went out, which way's the future? So we went out to the future, and I do that. The client will give me the future. I say, so we went out to the future to someone specified time in the future, where if it happened before, you would have been inappropriate or frustrated at learning. And notice if we can find that old emotion. We may find it. Good. Good. The client's already come back to now, so say good, come. I may need to say good, come back to now, but the client's back in the room, so it's silly for me to say now, come back to now, so what are you talking about? I break rapport at that point. Yeah, says, well, I'm here. But if the client's still, then I might need to direct them back. Yes, you see the point? That's what it's there.
Yeah.
It's a catch-all. Good work. Questions?
It's really nice.
I've never had it like this before.
I've just known it for so long, either.
I never know what with PA this good either.
I mean, that's been going on for hours and hours, whereas normally they're about an hour and a half.
We'll be through it soon. Oh well, never mind. So, questions? So we use the root cause script, which is page 15?
15, yeah.
Exactly as it is. And then you go on to page 16.
But we do the test first, number 6.
I would say get the event lined up beforehand so the test is half, you're set up for the test, so you're not getting the client to remember that.
So when you do the test, you just revisit.
You see you're on the test there, yeah. You've already found out what the test is going to be before you do it.
Yeah.
It's just a pragmatic thing, isn't it? Because if the client says, no, I've got no single... Is it because they've forgotten how to do it, or is it because they never had it before? And I don't like not being in that, I don't like that position. So I want it lined up before I start, so we're doing a comparison. It's yeah. In Helen's case, you'd be glad you had.
Yeah.
Because what if the client can't remember ever did it? Did the technique work or not? It might affect the client's confidence with the next step,
Yeah.
depending on how they perceive what happened.
So it's good for both of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you know you are. I always think that I like to test as we go. It's pay as you go here. Pay as you go and test as you go.
Great.
Easy? Easy. Easy peasy. How long did that take? Not 5 minutes. No.
No, no.
But 5 minutes apiece, I would say. You can't find something like frustration or anger, then I'll let you do one of the other emotions. I'd rather you try to find something of that nature there first. You could. You really can't choose another emotion.
Would fear be okay?
Yeah, if you've already got rid of anger and sadness, then yeah. Because fear may keep anger in place. Fear of consequences. I don't be going home and beating your husband or suing me. I'm just giving your mother an apple pie advice here, aren't I?
Yeah.
But I'm giving you this because that's exactly how I want you to behave with your clients. Because it's not unusual for a client to say, I don't do anger, with the sound of anger in their voice. Or frustration or annoyance. Annoyance, not being annoyed, that's anger. You ever get annoyed at anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Of course we do.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Excellent, thank you. So tempted to do quantum linguistics, but I'm not going to. We should stick to what we said, but there's such a good way of dealing with that one. Okay. So this idea of identification, that's something you can... When you think about that, do you have a way of knowing it? I mean, you can get the feeling that goes with it, can you?
Yeah.
So is that something you'd be willing to get rid of today and have an absolute conscious awareness of having done so?
Yep.
Excellent. And conscious mind's doing it, unconscious mind's doing it. Good. Oh, excellent. So, well, if I were to ask you then about, we're going to say this is something you did somewhere way back in the... You must have come to that conclusion somewhere way back. So I'm going to say, well, what's the root cause, the original event, which it disconnected to allow this problem to be resolved? And is that before, during, and after you were born, if you were to know?
We need to go back beyond 11, don't we? We need to go way back.
Well, I imagined further back. They may have had a slightly different form. The easiest is just go back to the feeling rather than the words. Once you get back to that age, just track the feeling. You just go, well, the feeling that goes with this, where does that seem to come from? And was it before, during, and after you were born? The feeling that I don't deserve it. After what sort of age?
3.
Okay, does this seem like the first time? Does this feel like the root cause, or do you mention that was an earlier time?
Yeah. Before a year. Yeah.
It's when?
About a year.
About a year old. Okay, good. And you know what you're imagining, yeah? But you want to bring the client back to the now when we start this. We don't start from the root cause. And we don't elicit the root cause in trance either, although the client will often go into trance finding it. So just bring yourself back into the room. Okay, good. So you ready to do this? Oh, I can't imagine how much fun this could be. Fantastic. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, so just get yourself conscious. Okay, just imagine when you're ready, floating up. And way up in the air above your timeline, into the past. And down into the event, which we call position number 4, looking at it through my eyes.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I need to close my eyes to imagine much better. That's fine. Notice what emotions are present.
Yeah.
And can you also note if you're aware of that decision that was there, made there too. I don't disappear. Excellent. Good. So now float up in the air and go to position number 3, well before the beginning of this event. or before any of the chain of events that led to that event, and turn around and look to it now.
Yeah.
So the positive learning. Check now, where are the emotions?
You're gone.
And the decision, did it disappear too?
Yeah.
Excellent. Good, so if you just float down into the event once more, into what we call position number 4, looking through your own eyes, and just check on the emotions. There you go. Well, I really just, excellent, good. And that decision too, it's disappeared.
Yeah.
Good. So come back up to position number 3, up above, before looking back towards now.
Okay.
And now come back to now, only as quickly as you allow all the events between then and now to re-evaluate themselves in the light of your new decision. In the light of your new choices, and let go of all the negative emotions on those events, keeping the same position number 3, preserve the memories. Let go of the emotions and allow each event to re-evaluate itself all the way back to now. And as you do come back to now, I'd like your unconscious mind to allow you to notice 3 or more events where you could have responded the way you did. But now you notice new decisions, new choices, which, but because of the decision you just deleted, you notice the possibility, and now you can. You didn't notice the possibility, you can see it differently, and now you can. And your conscious mind was to understand your conscious mind was doing using that person for you. So, what were we working on?
I don't deserve it.
Oh, I know. Well, what do you think about that whole, belief now? How do you?
It's kind of ridiculous.
It's, I mean, we did that before, But seriously, as you try and find that whole belief. Well, it seems kind of ridiculous. So when you were saying you found things hard before, I don't remember saying that. You're out in a situation where things maybe didn't seem so easy. How do they now seem?
All the things I've already achieved come to mind.
Oh,
So
right,
it's-
yeah. Which is a much better thing to focus on, isn't it? Yeah. Which are going to be more helpful to help in the future, aren't they?
Yeah.
It is a matter of focus. It's what all of your work is actually changing focus. It's what you're picking out in the picture called life. It's a reframe. Well, you could say anything. It's sort of about what you focus on.
Just all these like hands.
Yeah. I know it's annoying, isn't it? I know you don't want it to work. I know you didn't deserve it to work. And you know, and I know it should have been a lot harder. But as you go out to the future and imagine, to someone specified time in the future where it would be appropriate to imagine where something like that stuff, could have happened again, and how do you now see it going? How do you now? Yeah. Notice the integration that's going on.
That's bizarre.
It is bizarre. We don't know what's bizarre, but because we all agree we don't know anything anymore, and we get all of that to stand us on, and it is ticking.
I'm trying to think. I can't do it, and there's just this huge list of scans. All these things you can do.
I warned you. You shouldn't have come here. You know you didn't deserve it, and it should have been harder. Good work. Keep that one. There you go. You should give a clap for that. So you know what to do? It's easy, isn't it? It's not that. It's the opposite of that. We've got these. Hold that to the camera. So. That's it.
Okay, there, right, fine. Got one.
Whoa, whoa. Okay, well done. Carol.
Wait for it.
That's my practice therapy. Congratulations. Well done. Last.
Let me do you.
But not NLP. Well done.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. I've got it. I've got it. I pressed